quality of it better?
Better than just having it as a tenderloin?
No, better is better as a porterhouse. Are they the same? It's the same muscle, I understand,
Yeah.
right?
So you're gonna have more of it on a porterhouse, so I would say that's better. Because the T-bone, you might just have the little tail end, so you might just have this versus this.
I've just never seen. I've just not many people go in a restaurant with a porterhouse steak. Do
Not a lot of restaurants offer it.
because
So, and if they do, it's going to be more expensive because it's going to have higher dollar cuts. So if you go to like retail prices, and I don't even know what they are, I know tenderloins, average price of an individual tenderloin, like by the pound, is $25.99 per pound is average. As a whole, because I just looked it up, Taylor. The reason I know that one is because one of my producers was calling me. So it's $25.99 average price for a tenderloin. So now on your porterhouse, I don't know what the average price is, but you're also getting a whole tenderloin on it, right? Whole tenderloin steak. But is it going to be the same price? Probably not, because it's priced per pound. So it'll probably a T-bone will be a little bit cheaper.
Difference in the size of the piece of muscle that you get.
Still the same overall muscle. It's just based off the amount that you get to consume.
Well, isn't a lot of times at a restaurant, when you do order a porterhouse, it's like a two-person steak?
Well, my husband would say it's just for him. So, in my opinion, absolutely, 2 or 3 people. But my husband today for lunch, we met and had lunch because I was having dinner with him. He ate 2 hamburgers and 2 sets of fries, and I had a salad. So, I mean, just depends on the individual, right? So, what is this?
Ribeye roast.
So this is going to be a ribeye roll or ribeye roast, right? What is this? It's from the chuck. It's very tender. Pop quiz, see if you remember what I said earlier. It's the second most tender.
Flat iron.
Flat iron. So sometimes you'll see big flat iron, sometimes they'll be squared off. This is the most popular way that you'd see it in like a restaurant. It's going to be squared off like this. What is this?
Flank steak.
This is the flank. So your skirt steaks, the muscles are going to run like this. Your flank steak, the muscle's going to run like that. That's how you tell the difference if they're sitting next to each other, because they're going to be about the same size-ish. What is this? These are the eye of round steaks. So when the first meat science presentation I ever did in Georgia was for my local cattleman's chapter. And instead of, because I didn't have this back then, this is like almost 8 years ago, I got 5 coolers and I bought individual cuts of meat. And I put them in the coolers, and so before we ate, when everyone was socializing, they got to go through the coolers, write down their name, write down their guess of what they thought it was. And I had charts up so they could see that there's the chuck, the loin, the round, the rib, right? And they went through and they made a guess on what it was. And I had a lot of people, they're chuck medallions, and they weren't the eye of round steaks, but they look very similar. Eye of round steak, chuck medallions, and tenderloins, if you have them all sitting in front of you, all the same thickness, they look very similar to each other. And so a lot of people either said that they were the eye of round steaks, or they said they were the tenderloins. Actually, nobody said that they were a chuck medallion, and so we ended up having to draw numbers to see who won that, because if you got the cut right, you got to take it home. But so it's a guessing game, right? If a cut's sitting there, you may or may not know what it is based off the way that it looks. A lot of cuts look very similar. So what is this? So this is a tenderloin roast that's been squared off, so that tail is gone, right? What is this? Go back and forth. Looks like it, huh? This is your eye of round roast. What you could tell is if this was flipped. It gets louder when I put it close to my face. Sorry, y'all. This was flipped. This right here, y'all see that? That is a fat cap that goes all the way around to the other side. You don't have that on your tenderloins because your tenderloins are within that body cavity. So this is getting pulled, so you have that fat cap right there. That's how you can tell this is the eye of round roast. Plus the way that the muscle is. But what are these? Stew meat. What's this? Hamburger meat, right? Ground meat. What's this? This is chili meat. hamburger, do they take this, say this is just a roast, do they take this and it goes through the grinder and it automatically pops out that? No. It's gonna go through 2 cycles. The first cycle, there's gonna be a plate that's gonna be about that thickness, and then they'll run it through again and it's gonna be that thickness. The reason is because if you take a big cut and make it as thin as that is, there's going to be more chances for things to get caught in the machine to get backed up. So typically they're going to go through about a chili meat plate or a little bit bigger, and then they're going to put it to a hamburger plate. Does that make sense? Not everybody does that, but that's going to be about the average. Sometimes there are ground machines that will do both at one time, but not everybody has that, so they'll put it through, but it still technically goes through 2 plates. So what's this? Tammy, any idea? Put you on the spot. I'm gonna give you a hint. I don't even know if I told you this, but if I come and do a cutting demo, which is not this, it's me and I bring my knives. Actually, I have the bone saw in the truck still from Tuesday, but I'll bring my knives and I will fabricate out a subprimal. This is what I ask for. Because with this, and I told you about it earlier, this cut that's right here, you'll do a couple knife strokes, but I can pull that off pretty much with my hand because of those seams. It's not going to have muscles attaching to it, so I can actually just pull that away. That looks like a porterhouse, right? So this is the short loin. So the short loin is this section. This is the short loin. So overall, it's going to have your strip loin and your tenderloin and the bone. That's going to be what your short loin is. This is the best cutting demo for cattlemen to see, because you can see on your New York strip side, you got to cut the whole dang thing. Whereas on your tenderloin, you can pull a lot of that because you've got those seams. So just a really nice demonstration. And then you got the bone that's left over. A lot of times, so I don't pay for that. I don't have funds to pay for that. Usually the Cattlemen's Association will find somebody to sponsor and pay for that. And then a lot of times they'll either auction off the steaks, because I'll cut them into steaks, or they'll give them out as store prices. That's kind of how that goes. So what is this? I think this is the last thing I have on here.
Skirt.
So this is that thing that you pull off when the carcass is still hot.
Oh, it shrinks.
Then the thing that shrinks, the thing that dehydrates.
Yeah.
Anybody remember? The hanging tender. So that is the hanging tender right here. So it's going to come from this area of the animal.
So at what point do you eat that, or do you eat it?
You could like a steak. So you pull it off and you could eat it then. I mean, not like they are in the processing plant, obviously, but like within a couple days, unless you like freeze it. But
In a restaurant, it's a hanger steak.
a hanger steak,
And
yes.
it's very good.
Yes, and it's very, very tender. But yeah, how many do you think you got of those you get on an animal?
One for each side.
One for each side. Any questions?
So what, they get like 2 hanger steaks out of each side?
No, one.
There's one set, they cut it in half.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Hanger steak, it's like a half.
Mm-hmm. And it's not big.
No, it's not.
It's a delicacy. Yes.
You never said anything about a London broil?
A London broil.
Yeah, what is that? What part of the is
It's the way you cook it. So the difference with that's the London broil is just the way that you cook it and how it's pulled off of there. So that's going to be from that loin area. Any other questions? And there's a lot of different steaks out there. People have cowboy steaks and Denver steaks, and there's a couple other states that have different steaks, and it's just the way that it's cut. And some of them are the same exact cut, like the tomahawk, the bone-in ribeye, and the boneless ribeye. They're all ribeyes, it's just the way that it's cut, maybe slightly different. And not every processor is going to know those names. They're going to know the basic names. They're not going to know the fancy names. And you'll see every cut sheet's different. Every processor is going to offer something different.
Talk a little bit about marbling differences, about quality grades.
Okay. Do you want me to show you pictures? I can pull up another presentation.
If you got pictures, yes.
Y'all have time for that?
Yeah.
If y'all don't want to, you can I guess walk out. Give me a second, I'll pull it up, because it's really hard to talk it. These are all my different presentations.
And all the boards still in the house. It's only 2 of them.
I think this is the best one for it.
I think pizza's like
Let's see. Okay, this one still says Lamar County on. As of Tuesday, I only have one county because we hired somebody in Lamar County. This still has my maiden name on it too. So it's been a minute since I've given this one. Quality grade. So these are all our 8 quality grades, right? So we've got our prime, our choice, our select, our standard, our commercial, our utility, our cutter, and our canner. These are the only ones that are recognized with USDA. Anything from here down cannot be sold in a retail establishment. Here are our marbling scores. Within those quality grades, there's different marbling scores. This is the amount of intramuscular fat. I wish I brought my cards. It was in with my knives, and I didn't even bring them. But I have the USDA grading cards that you train meat judging teams to do. So anything that has the word abundant, prime. As long as that word abundant is on there, that is labeled as prime. So you've got your prime, high choice, average choice, low choice, select. It's based off the amount of fat that's on the carcass. This is an abundant steak. This is the marbling, the intramuscular fat. This is going to be, there's lots of breeds that can have it. This is going to be your Wagyu, okay? So we used to process a Wagyu where I used to work at, and even their roasts were prime, okay? So there was marbling everywhere with all that animal. It takes a lot longer to get them to be able to be processed, though. They're going to be older, and they look, does anybody have Wagyu around here? They look really rangy. They don't look like the average calves that you're going to see across the state of Georgia, okay? They're going to look a little bit, just a little different. Here's moderately abundant. So abundant is higher. You see all that intramuscular fat. Then you've got your moderately abundant. Still prime. Prime is prime, right? But this is the amount of fat. So all of these moderately abundant, they're going to have a 0 to 100 range, and it's the amount of fat that's distributed throughout there. Then you've got your slightly abundant. What is this still grade as, though? Prime, right? Then you've got your moderate. This is going to be your high choice. You've got your modest. This is your average choice. You've got your small, which is your low choice. Then you got your slight, and this is your select. So it used to be more popular than what it is now. There's this choice select spread that was put out there, and there's a major price difference between choices and between select. So does anybody have CAB, certified Angus beef? And then your meat is sold as certified Angus beef. So there's registered Angus, and then there's meat that is certified Angus beef. There are 10 qualifications for it to be certified Angus beef. One of the qualifications is it has to be average or higher choice. It cannot be this and it cannot be that. It's got to be modest or up in the marbling amount. And there's other things too. It's like percent of black hided. The rhomboideus muscle can only be 2 inches or less, and different things like that. So these are all of the grades and how they're abbreviated. So they're some people will send theirs off and they will get they'll get data back, like data from their carcass. And a lot of times they'll use these abbreviations and people don't know what they're talking about. And so this is just kind of a good map to show you that you've got your high prime, it's going to be abundant from 0 to 100, and the abbreviation is going to be AB. So if you have an AB 100, that's the top. You can't get any more marbling in that steak. The only grades that are USDA are prime, choice, and select, though. So are there other things that you can sell? You individually probably, but these are going to be the only things that are in the store. So could you have a steak that looks like this and it not grade prime? So there's 2 main factors that attribute to quality grade. Biggest one is marbling, the second is age. So if you got an old cow, she could still have lots of intramuscular fat. She'd have a lot of marbling on there, but she's an old cow, she's past her prime. She can no longer grade prime. And it's based off of the ossification of the bone. And so what they do as graders is they go in, they look at the quality, they look at the marbling, but then they also look at the age of the animal. And you can see that when it's hanging on the rail. You could tell me that your animal is this age, but I can see that it's this age.
Where do they cut the cow to get that look?
To see where it's at between the 12th and 13th rib. Because not all beef cows are going to have the exact same amount of ribs, and it's just a good generic area. And so when they cut it, they're going to let it, so it's going to bloom a little bit. So they're going to let it sit for a second. It's not like cut it immediately and then grate it. It's going to bloom, so some of that will plump out and you can see it better. So can you grade a steak? Like if you get it vacuum sealed and it's blast frozen so it sounds like this, or harder when you pick it up from the processor, could you then bring it to me and I tell you the exact grade of what it could be? No, because things happen whenever it freezes, right? And it's not going to look the same as that initial look that they have. I could tell you a roundabout, but it's not going to be accurate. Tammy couldn't bring it to me and I say, oh, hey, this is definitely grade prime, and then her market that. I'm not a certified grader, I just know how to do it. But I could say roundabout, this might be choice, this might be prime. So, is every Wagyu going to grade prime? Is every Angus going to grade prime? Is every Angus going to grade choice? So there's two things that attribute to intramuscular fat, to marbling, that goes into the grade. It's the genetics. So if you have a Charolais steer, pure, is it going to grade prime? Probably not. Charolais is probably not going to grade prime unless it has something else mixed in, because they are known for their cutability, not for their marbling, not for their quality. So what is cutability? Cutability is the amount of lean, the amount of muscle. So Charolais are known to put on the muscle. If you want them to have that quality grade with it, usually you're going to mix them with something else. Is that saying that Charolais are bad? Absolutely not. Because say we have an Angus calf, are they going to have huge ribeyes? No, they're not going to have a ribeye the size of what a Charolais has. They're going to be known for their quality, right? So it's just, you got to pick what you want. If you want big steaks or you want high quality, if you're trying to lose weight and get lean, you may not want to have a whole lot of fat in the middle of your steak. So, or if you don't really like ribeyes, some people don't like ribeyes because they have a lot of fat in between the muscles. They like sirloin steaks and stuff. It doesn't really necessarily matter what the quality grade of the animal is if you're not looking at those individual cuts, right? So it's all based off of personal preference. Some of the higher quality breeds that are here in Georgia is going to be like your Herefords and your Angus, right? And then some of your bigger muscled ones are going to be like the Charolais. And then you've got like your Simmentals and your Limousines, and they're all kind of mixed in there in the middle, right? So we used to do this thing, and Tammy, just tell me when you want me to be quiet. Just say, hey, shut up. So we used to do this thing called pasture to packer. I would love to do it in Georgia, I just have not figured out how to do it. Where a farm would have similar genetics. They would give, I think the year that I was really a part of it, there's 11 steers that were part of the project. They give 11 steers to some 4-Hers, FFA students. They go through the show season, and that student gets the farmer. They decide what the feed regimen is going to be. The farmer okays it. They just hope that the kid's actually going to do what they say they're going to do. They go through the whole show season, and then after the show season is over, they take the animals to the processor, which we had done it one year, and then they hang for 14 to 21 days, and then they all get ribbed at the same time they look at it. All the same genetics of all the steers are all hanging up there. So we had 11 carcasses hanging up, all the same genetics. All of them but one either graded high choice or prime. That one graded select. What do you think was the factor that caused it to not grade as high? The diet. So just because the genetics are there, if the environment's not there, it's not going to be good, right? Just because if you have the best feed regimen in the entire world, and you're feeding an animal that's not going to put on the marbling, it's not going to put on the marbling. You have to have the right genetics and the right feed regimen to allow that to exist, right? Does that make sense? And everybody's operation is different. It's based off of what you like. I have some 4-Hers that they love belted Galloways. They are pretty. They are pets. They actually do this thing as a fundraiser for them for their showing. They do cow cuddles. And so they take them to farmers markets and different things, and people pay to love on and take pictures with these animals because they're fluffy, right? They're really cute. That's what they like. They're not going to have huge ribeyes, and they're probably not going to be prime, but that's the type of animal that they like. Not knocking it. They are pretty, and they are very, very docile. So everybody has a different operation. Everybody has an end goal. Not everybody's end goal is to have the highest quality meat or the largest ribeyes out there, right? It's what works best for you. And there's no wrong answer. I hate when people come, we've had stockyards and different things, and they talk about how they like this breed versus this breed. It doesn't matter what breed, does not matter what breed I like. It's what you like and what you want to do for your operation, right? I will just give you the means to be able to be most profitable for what you want, just like Tammy would. She might like one breed of animal, but if somebody comes in here with one that she doesn't care for, it doesn't matter what her individual opinion is. She's going to help you go in the right avenue to get your end goal, right? Any other questions?
Let me ask you something about hanging time.
Okay.
And how does it relate as far as tenderness
Okay.
and also dry aged or aged a different way?
So we did a study at the university that I went to, back when I was in college. I didn't do it as another grad student that did it. And we looked at hanging times. There wasn't a significant difference between 21 and 28 days. The best time frame is between that 14 and 21. Anything less than 14, it may not break down. It's those little bugs, those little microbes within those muscles that are breaking it down. If you don't hang it up to 14 days, it may not be as tender, but after 14 days, it's not going to be that much different from day to day. When you hit day 28, that's when mold is going to start growing. And so then you're going to actually sacrifice some of that meat potentially. So now we had an animal that came in one time, and we only hung that animal for 7 days. And that was the max that we were going to do because it had no fat at all. It was an old cow. She had been grass-fed, never had any grain before at all, and nothing's wrong with that. But she didn't have the high-quality forages that she needed to put on that fat, and she was old. And so if we would have hung it any longer than that, it would have started sacrificing some of those muscles. And so she wouldn't have got back as much meat as what she should have had, right? So what's the difference between grass-fed and grain-fed?
Taste.
So the big difference is how you can tell if it is hanging on the rail.
Yellow and white fat.
Let's go, I don't have a picture on here. So you see how the outside of this fat is white? The biggest difference is grass-fed. It's going to have kind of like a yellowish orange tint to it. Is grass-fed better than grain-fed?
To me it is.
Is grain-fed better than grass-fed? Neither one is better than the other. As long as the quality is out there for that animal to have, grain-fed and grass-fed can both grade high, choice, or prime, as long as the nutrition is out there. So that's why, as county agents, we tell you, test your hay, test your forages to make sure that you're feeding your animals what you need to. So no, one is not better than the other, it's personal preference, right?
The grain-fed fat will not go bad as quick if you throw it out.
If you throw it out.
It's vitamin E in the corn will make it last longer.
And so out like in the trash?
Like spoil, like if your freezer goes bad.
Well, if your freezer goes bad, then you throw all of it away, regardless on if it's grain or grass. Right, but so now there are standards for food quality. You don't want anything, if it is fresh, if it is not frozen, it's just a fresh cut, anything after 3 days in the refrigerator can cause different bacteria to grow, so you will want to consume it regardless on if it's grain or grass. So, I mean, maybe the water holding capacity is a little bit different between grain and grass-fed, but by the time you get to that, you wouldn't want to be eating either one of them. So has anybody seen dark cutters? What's a dark cutter? So dark cutter is based off of the color of the meat. The meat is going to be a purple and it's not going to be a bright cherry red. And it's all based off of the adrenaline that animal has. So high stressed animals for long periods of their life are going to be more apt to be a dark cutter than anything else. So there's dark cutter and then there's blood splash. Blood splash, what I like to tell people, kind of sounds morbid, but if you were to like cut your hand and you take a steak and you just put a couple drops on there, that's gonna be what your blood splash looks like. So the overall steak is gonna be a lighter color, but then you're gonna have those little purple dots to it. That's gonna be immediate high stress, and it's with those hormones, so maybe that animal, something happened in the processing side. They did not go based off of Temple Grandin's idea of how to move them through that, and they had really, really high stress. That could cause blood splash. It's not cute, it's not pretty. The consumer does not want that. It looks ugly, it looks gross, it looks like there's something wrong with it. Can you still eat it? Absolutely. Is the quality still there? Absolutely. It just doesn't have the consumer appeal. Say you have a dark cutter, it's a dark purple steak in the freezer, and then a lot of times, you'll get them back and it'll be really dark purple in the freezer, and then you put it in the refrigerator and it gets some oxygen to it, and it turns that bright cherry red, right? Dark cutters never turn that bright cherry red. Consumers know the bright cherry red, they don't know that purple color. So they're gonna go for the bright cherry red steak versus the dark purple steak. Can you still eat that dark purple steak? Absolutely. Water holding capacity is a little bit less. It's not going to be as shelf stable. I'm looking at you because you just brought up. Not as shelf stable as long. Won't last in the freezer either as long, but it is still safe to eat. It's all based off of consumer appeal. Is anybody on Facebook in here? Social media at all? Have y'all seen like that Misfit Farms stuff? That's the ads that come on, and it's like fruits and vegetables that look weird, and they kind of have their own little market for it. It's stuff that you wouldn't normally pick up at the grocery store, because if you pick up a tomato, you want it to be the right feel, you want it to be the right color, the right look, no spots, nothing on it. Well, this group took all of these misfit fruits, vegetables, and meats, and they sell it at a reduced price. All are still consumable, still safe to eat. It's just not something that you would pick up at the grocery store. Because, I know all vegetables, as long as they don't have bugs and they don't have bacteria and different things in it, they're still safe to eat. But you better believe I'm going to pick a Honeycrisp apple that doesn't have a single spot on it and bring it home versus having one that has a bruise on it, right? Because I don't want to cut out the bruise. Anything else?
If you hang the beef long enough where you get the mold on it,
Cut it
will you
off.
still gain tenderness?
So based off of the study, between 21 and 28 days, there wasn't a big enough significance from what they did to say that it is definitely more tender here versus here. But there is a slight, but not a significant amount. So now, with the mold growth, so you can cut that off. It's still safe to eat. So sometimes carcasses will grow mold on them, especially like your dry aged. Those are going to probably get mold growth, and a lot of times they'll get cut off. You'll see the outsides kind of look black, but then when you cut into it, it's going to look like the normal steak it's supposed to. So not all mold growth is unhealthy either. There's food grade mold, and then there's mold that you just can't consume. But no, based off of the study that was done, there wasn't a significant amount of difference between that 21 and 28 days. The big difference was between 14 and 21.
Did you say a good rule of thumb is 3 days in the refrigerator after beef is thawed out?
Now with steaks,
So you can hang a beef for 21 days or 28 days, but you thaw that thing out in your refrigerator rather. You got
your
3 days.
refrigerator's not as cold as what those coolers are though. And then they also has all the other muscles that are in it, and they're vacuum sealed and all. And there's a bunch of different factors that come in, and you've transported it from one place to the next, and so it'll probably get down in temperature. Or it usually HACCP plans, which is like quality control, and anything that goes above the registered numbers. So a good rule of thumb is anything that is 41 degrees or higher in a plant gets chunked. They can no longer utilize that anymore.
Is there a difference from beef you buy in a grocery store versus beef you've grown and had it processed yourself?
You know
Not yourself, but from a processing plant?
You know where it came from?
Once you thaw it out, I'm saying, because you
Usually,
got preservatives in store-bought beef, right?
no,
Nothing?
not necessarily.
Just the hormones they injected?
No.
Oh, okay.
So the biggest difference is hanging time. So have y'all ever been to like a Cargill, JBS plant? So in those plants, and I've only ever seen it in one because they gave us special permission to go through it. Tammy, like seriously, tell me if. So we went through and we got to see where we saw from start to finish. The calves came on this conveyor belt, And you had these three guys, and it looked like they were wearing like an umpire outfit. They had the pads, they had the face mask and everything, and they had these guns that were on this rotation, and they were knocking them, okay? So the first guy would come in, and then imagine Tammy's over here behind me. He'd go and he'd knock one, and then he'd get out of the way, and the next guy would knock the next one, and the next guy would knock the next one. And so I mean, they're literally just going like this, knocking calves, knocking calves, knocking calves, and they're going through, going through, going through. So many calves, so many beef carcasses come through that they get knocked, they get chilled, the next day they probably are getting fabricated out. So they're not gonna have the hang time because the consumer demand for all that beef, you can't realistically age everything for 14 to 21 days. But on the smaller side, mom and pop side, absolutely you can do it. So there's a good possibility that could be more tender. Any other questions?
And what you were talking about earlier about the bright red, when you go to Kroger,
Okay.
you see beef in the freezer department, bright red, but when you get it back from the processing plant, it's dark red. Why? Is it because?
Because one's frozen and one's not. And so it's immediately when it gets cut, it goes straight into the freezer. It's not exposed to oxygen very much.
Okay.
And so that's why it's still going to have that darker color. The longer it's exposed to oxygen, the more bright cherry red it's going to be. Any other questions?
All right, hey, thank you, honey.